You ever have that Sunday night breakdown? You know the one. The planner is open, you made the grocery list, the fridge is stocked, and you've promised yourself, this is the week I finally get my life together. And for a day, maybe two, it almost feels true. Monday feels fresh, Tuesday feels doable, but by Wednesday, it's gone. The anxiety is back, the routines are slipping, and the shame spiral kicks in. You look around and think, why can't I just stick with this? Why does everything feel like just too much? Why can't I just get it together like everyone else seems to? And if you've ever felt that way, I want to tell you something most people won't. You're not lazy or disorganized, and you're not broken. You're burnt out, you're mentally exhausted, and that exhaustion has nothing to do with your worth. It has everything to do with how your nervous system is functioning right now. Because let's be real, if you're in your early to mid-20s, you're probably navigating career shifts, relationship ups and downs, the constant question of who am I becoming, and the pressure of social media that just makes you feel like you're behind every single time you scroll. Add in work, family, school, obligations, maybe even moving to new cities or handling finances for the first time, and your brain is fried. It's not that you don't want to do better. You do. You want to eat well, you want to move your body, you want to wake up early, and you want to have your routines together. The desire is there, but the energy isn't. And that gap between wanting and doing, is where most of us start to self-destruct. Here's the problem. We think the answer is motivation. We tell ourselves, if I just find the right playlist, the right planner, the right influencer to copy, maybe I'll get it together. But motivation is the most unreliable tool you can lean on. It's like building your house on quicksand. It won't hold when life gets heavy. What you really need is not motivation, but relief. Relief for your nervous system. Because when you're dysregulated, when you're stuck in fight or flight, when your brain is constantly scanning for threats and stressors, it doesn't matter how many motivational quotes you read or how many planners you buy. You just won't end up following through. Not because you're weak, but because your body literally doesn't feel safe enough to change. Just think about it. When you're mentally exhausted, your brain wants the path of the least resistance. So of course you grab your phone and scroll. Of course you order takeout instead of cooking. Of course you binge Netflix instead of meditating. Not because those are your deepest desires, they're the quickest route to relief. Your brain is wired to choose survival over self-improvement every single time. Which is why the Sunday night reset feels so good in the moment. Your system loves the idea of a fresh start. But by midweek, the stress hormones are back. Your nervous system is triggered, and the whole plan just collapses. And what do? You blame yourself. You think, I must just not be consistent enough. I must just not want it badly enough. But what if the truth is that you don't need to want it more? You need to feel safe enough to actually do it. This is the shift most programs miss. They throw structure at you before you've built stability. They tell you to wake up at 5 a.m., meal prep, meditate, journal, hit the gym, all at once, without ever asking if your body is even ready to hold those changes. That's like trying to plant a garden in soil that hasn't been watered in weeks. Nothing's gonna grow, no matter how perfect the seeds are. And this is why I created Rewired. Because most women in their 20s don't need another list of habits. They need a system that layers change from the inside out. Emotional, cognitive, then behavioral. Let me walk you through this. Emotional first. If you're burnt out, no habit will stick until your body feels safe. In week 2 of Rewired, I guide my students through grounding practices that literally bring their nervous system out of fight or flight. We practice breath work, we create morning and night rituals that are short and simple and regulating. We visualize the most confident version of ourselves and embody her posture, her tone, her habits, so the body gets a taste of what safety and confidence actually feels like. One of my favorite moments is when students realize they don't need to become someone else. They just need to remember what safety feels like in their own skin. And once that's in place, habits stop feeling like threats. Then we move on to cognitive layers. This is about rewiring your inner dialogue, because you can't build a new life on old programming. If your inner voice is constantly whispering, you're lazy, you'll never stick with this, you're falling behind, you'll keep proving it true. Inside Rewired, we practice cognitive reframing, literally taking every negative thought and using it as a doorway into a new belief. One of my students, Dina, used to spiral every time she slipped up. If she missed one workout, her brain went straight to, see, you failed again. Might as well start over Monday. But through framing exercises, she learned to pause and say, no, missing one workout doesn't erase my progress. I'm still someone who's building consistency. That shift stopped that shame spiral in its tracks and allowed her to keep moving forward. Imagine how much of your life could change if you stopped punishing yourself for being human and started supporting yourself instead. Only after those two layers are solid enough do we move into behavioral change. And this is where most programs start, which is why they fail. In Rewired, we wait until week 4 and 5 to build structure. By then, you've regulated your nervous system, you've started rewiring your thoughts, and you've aligned with a new identity. Now we build systems that fit your energy instead of forcing your energy into rigid systems. We do energy leak reflections where students identify exactly where their time and energy are being drained, whether it's endless scrolling, negative relationships, or late night binges. Once we shine a light on those leaks, we redesign the routine around them. Then we move into time blocking, but not the suffocating kind where every hour is color-coded and perfection is expected. Instead, I remind students that structure is not a punishment. Structure is like a kind of protection. Structure is the container that allows your freedom to actually exist. And when they see that, when they realize their planner isn't a prison, it's a form of self-respect. Everything just shifts. Now you might be wondering, okay, but what happens when I inevitably fall off? And that's where week 6 comes in. Because real life is messy. You will fall off. You will have days where you skip the gym, eat that junk food, or miss your journaling. And most people quit at that point because they mistake imperfection for failure. But in Rewired, we practice what I call the bounce back. Instead of spiraling into shame, we pause, normalize the dip, and return to one anchor habit. Maybe it's journaling for 5 minutes, maybe it's drinking some water, maybe it's walking after dinner. That single habit rebuilds the trust in yourself and proves you're still someone who shows up. And then from there you can recommit, not from guilt, but from love. And that's how you build resilience. That's how you stop quitting every time life gets hard. I'll give you a quick story. Kayla, another one of my students, used to label herself as lazy. She had said it so many times that it became her identity. But when we worked through identity alignment exercises, visualization, affirmations she actually believed, and habit stacking, she realized lazy was never the truth. It was just a label she had carried for years. Once she started identifying as someone who was capable, grounded, and consistent, her actions followed. She didn't have to force it, it just became natural. Today, she doesn't call herself lazy anymore. She calls herself proud. That's what happens when you rewire from the inside out. So if you're sitting here mentally exhausted, staring at another half-used planner, another abandoned habit tracker, another Sunday reset that didn't last, I want you to know this. You don't need to try harder. You need to just try it a different way. You don't need another motivational quote or another 5 a.m. routine to copy. You need a system that works with your nervous system instead of against it. You need emotional relief before you need rigid behavior. You need compassion before you need another rule. And that's exactly what Rewired is. It's a 6-week program that takes you step by step through nervous system regulation, inner dialogue rewiring, identity alignment, and energy-based structure. So you can stop living in burnout and start building consistency that actually lasts. This all isn't about pretending that you're okay when you're not. This isn't about shaming yourself into routines. This isn't about pushing through until you collapse again. This is about rewiring the system that got you stuck in the first place. So if you're tired of pretending that you're fine while secretly burning out, if you're tired of hitting Wednesday and then feeling like a failure all over again, if you're tired of believing that lie that you're lazy when in truth you're just exhausted, Rewired is where we start the shift. You can click the link below and join today. And just remember, you're not behind and you're not lazy and you're not broken. You are just burnt out and you don't have the right structure and tools. And you deserve a system that finally works with you and not against you. So let's do this together because you are more than capable. And I created this whole program because I struggled with this and I brought myself out of this and I've made this into a structure that works. I've made this into a structure that worked for me, for many of my clients and students, and it can work for you as well. Click the link if you're interested or DM me if you have any questions. And always remember to breathe deeply and live mindfully.